Greetings, chess players. My name is Chris Torres. This is my son Leo. And this is Daily Chess Musings. And we are here for the Winter Chess Camp 2024, last day of 2024. It's December 31st. And our chess camp is featuring the World Championship games of Gukesh Dommaraju because he just became our new world champion in 2024. And I really like Gukesh as a chess player, and he's only 18, so we're going to have him for some time. I wanted to yesterday we had some technical difficulty for our afternoon lesson, so today I am scheduled to do two live lessons, two Gukesh games. I am writing a book on the World Championship, and so selecting which of the games from the match to show you was a little bit tricky because there's so many good games between Ding Liren and Gukesh Dommaraju. However, I think we're going to start with round two. And the reason I think round two is very important for Gukesh is because he lost round one to Ding Liren. Gukesh had the white pieces in round one, and he played e4, and Ding played the French defense, which was a little bit of a surprise. And then Gukesh took some nice risks and was creative, but he seemed nervous. It was his first World Championship game ever, and he ended up making a mistake and losing that game. And that's a tough way to start a World Championship. That's a tough way, especially your first one, starting after a loss. Well, one thing Gukesh does very nicely is he gets to the board and he calms himself. It's very important. He closes his eyes, he breathes, and he calms himself. So in round two, he needed to stop the bleeding a little bit. You can't lose, the first two games, right? And Ding Liren was going to be white, so this was a very important game for Gukesh. Let's take a look. I'm going to move my coffee over here. And let's see. Hopefully I'll be able to see some chat. Right now I can't see any chat, but hopefully I'll figure out how to see chat, because I like to be interactive with you guys as well. So Ding Liren is white. This game was played on November 26th, and it is round two. And Ding starts with e4. So we'll kind of go move by move. When you play e4 as white, you're controlling the square d5. So you've chosen that you want to focus on the light squares. Now in round one, against e4, Ding played e6, so both players were focused on the light squares. But Gukesh, he plays e5. Okay. So he's focused on the dark squares. Then knight f3, because you want to get a knight out, preferably your king's knight, so you can get castled. Knights take longer to get to where they're going, so it's a good thing to get them rolling. And it's immediately threatening e5, Ding Liren's e5. I'm sorry, Ding Liren is immediately threatening Gukesh's e5 pawn. Knight c6 is played. Many of us have been here before. And then bishop c4. So we have an Italian. And bishop c5. All right. Many of us have been here a lot. It's kind of neat to see openings that we play in the most important games in chess, the World Championship Match. All right, so let's take a look. White is controlling d5. We're very interested in who is controlling the center four squares. The center four being these four right here.
Also F5.
Yeah, but F5's not in the center. It's adjacent to the center. And black is super controlling d4. You can see how three of black's pieces, well, two of the pieces and the pawn, are putting influence on d4, controlling d4. All right, let's see what's played. And d3 is played. Okay, so this is the Giuoco Pianissimo. The Giuoco means game, Giuocco means game in Italian. Pianissimo means quietest. Quietest game.
Quietest game.
And this is in Italian because this is the Italian game. So it's the Giuoco Pianissimo, quietest game.
Most people play C4.
You mean C3?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say most people do, but your dad likes to. C3. C3 is actually the Giuoco, just the regular Giuoco piano, classical. And then the idea is playing d4. Another choice here is the Evans Gambit, which was a favorite of another player who was a world champion, Bobby Fischer. But we have d3, and it has been popular, gaining more traction. It's more popular today than either c3 or pawn to b4. Black plays knight f6. So Gukesh, should call him by his name. Gukesh plays knight f6. Three pieces developed and now is ready to be castled. And then knight c3. So we're transitioning. They're calling it, chess.com's calling it bishop opening, Berlin hybrid, Vienna hybrid, blah, blah. This is turning into an Italian four knights, right? It's turning into an Italian four knights. Let's just make it simple. We don't need all these fancy things. And Gukesh plays a6. Oh, good. Now chess.com calls it the Italian four knights. So with a6, I get to my first question. My question is, why would Gukesh think it's important to play this pawn at this point? Go ahead and think about that. And if you have an answer, you can put it in the chat. I don't see my chat window, but you can still do it. Maybe, you know what I could do? Maybe I can open up the YouTube broadcast on my phone. That's an idea. Not have the sound on, because then I have this echo problem, and then I can read your chat on a different window. That makes sense. All right, let's take a look. And whoop. Let's hope I am live, because I don't. Oh, good. It's showing me live. There's an ad. 2, 1. Skip. And Jollification. Okay, I see your chat. Jollification says preparing b5 and potentially stopping knight b5 ideas. So Jollification typed in chat. I can read your chat now, guys. Preparing b5. Let me. This is true.
Yeah.
And also, his second point. Whoops. His second point is also true. Stopping, white's pieces from going to b5. But it does something else important too. Anybody else know? There's another thing it's doing important. And Vinod, I see that you agree with Jollification. Cool. We can be
I
interactive.
agree with John Casey.
There's one more important thing. You guys got maybe 2 of the points, but there's 3 things this little move does. Might even do more than that. But there's 3 things that that I thought were worth mentioning. And he says it gives the bishop some room to breathe as yes. So basically, Gukesh's bishop, which he likes, this is what I like to refer to. These guys I like to refer to as the Italian bishops, right? It's the Italian game. They're the ones that are attacking the belly button. So I call them the Italian bishops. He would like to keep this threatening the belly button. And if white castle's on the same diagonal as the king. But see, there's this knight a4 problem, right? And a moment ago, it's even maybe a bigger problem because there's no threat of a fork in response. And knight a4 means the bishop either has to leave the diagonal or get exchanged by the knight. And so it gives the bishop breathing room. Good job. All right, let's see. Nice to see you again, Jollification, by the way. Anybody else, you can say hi in chat. Let's see. And Ding Liren plays a4. These are just notes from my forthcoming book on the World Championship. My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. We're looking at Game 2 from the recent World Championship between Ding Liren and Gukesh Dommaraju. A4. So A4 obviously is, right now at least, making B5 a little tricky to play, right? There was another. Let me ask a couple questions on this move. We'll take our time, have some fun. There was another move. Hello, Ashish. There was another move that white could have played that maybe you guys would play more frequently. And what move is that? Instead of a4, Ding Liren's already starting to get a little creative. But there's a more natural move that I think a lot of you play right here. Move 6. What might you guys play? Leo, what might you play right here if you were white? Well, pay attention. I mean, I think what I'm going for is like bishop g5, right?
Or castle.
Or castle, yeah.
Those are the
those would be the 2 like normal moves.
Those were what I was thinking.
Bishop g5 with the idea of knight d5. Putting double pressure on this,
or
right?
Or just castling to be safe.
Or just castling. But a4, putting a stop to b5. Because then if b5 is played, pawn takes, and black's not going to take back right away because they'll drop the rook, right? Okay. And then let's see what Gukesh plays. d6. Aha. And so Gukesh is preparing to get his bishop out, right? Creates, and it also defending the center pawn. Creates this nice pawn chain that's pointed at the king's side. That'll be the direction he's attacking once white has castled. Speaking of castling, white castles. So white has completed Ding Liren. Let me use their names. Ding Liren has completed 2 of the 3 opening goals. Pawn in the center, castle, right? But his rooks are not unified. There's the bishop and the queen in the way still. And Gukesh plays h6. Another one of these pawn moves. This one had 3 reasons why it was, you know, a good idea. And this one. What do you guys think? Why is he doing that? Why is he playing h6?
To stop the dark bishop. to stop the dark bishop.
To stop the dark bishop, Leo's saying. And yes, this is true. Leo, try not to bump the thing so much, okay? Yeah. You balance on your thing. Yeah, you don't want this pin, followed by the knight moving and putting extra pressure on that. You don't want that. You don't have to play it then. You could castle, and then if the bishop comes, then you can play it. That's fine too. But you know, some people like to play the h6 first. Honestly, I think more often than not, I go ahead and castle as well, or possibly even bishop g4, but that can get a little interesting. Interesting because if this actually ends up doubled there, white can use the g file to attack. So yeah, castling. Let me just show you. And then if the bishop comes out, you play h6. And then this takes, queen takes, and then the knight pops up. It's threatening, and so you want to go back. And
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen this a bunch, right? I play that a bunch. It's a common line. But h6 is the move in the game, which is also common. Those are kind of the two main choices. Let's see what happens next. Bishop. Oh, okay. So Ding Liren's bishop can't go to g5, as Leo said. So it goes bishop e3. And there is tension between the two bishops now.
And now it would work for the work trade, which was another FIDE ranking. About what is that could possibly work.
And then Gukesh plays a really fun move here. I like it. Bishop e6. So this is unique. Check this out. We've got both bishops staring each other down. Yeah. I looked at this game with you before, Leo. We have looked at this game before. And this is pretty wild, right? Both bishops just staring at each other like that. You know, there were other options there, of course. But I think this is fun. I mean, some of the other things he could have done here. You know, black could have played knight d4. Nothing wrong with that. If you don't want to, you know, have that possibility of exchanging. And of course, bishop takes e3, and then fx e3 is also playable. You might say, well, you know, black gave white doubled pawns, but these doubled pawns actually help control the center pretty nice. And they're actually giving white's rook some good scope too. So if you're white in these kind of positions, don't worry so much about the doubled pawns. Think about your advantages. Let's see, bishop e6. So we have the bishops staring each other down, both sets. And we are on move 8 and move 9. Okay, here comes Ding with this weird move. He already played a4. And now he plays a5. Okay, this is a really weird move. This one's really, really weird. Ding's been playing some of these double pawn pushes on the rim early in chess games. It's part of new opening theory that he is working on, and it's at this point it's kind of a signature Ding move. But it's putting the pawn where it's under attack, and your rook has to defend it, right? And it looks like for some reason my thing went to add, so hopefully you guys are still seeing me, because I'm seeing an ad and waiting for the ad to go away before I continue, because you guys are probably seeing the same YouTube ad perhaps. I didn't think YouTube put ads in live broadcasts, but apparently they do. And that's fine. I'm using their thing. Okay, and we are back. So, double pawn push, it means that this rook, here's a term that I like to use for this rook now, it's glued to this pawn. It needs to defend this pawn. So we'll see why maybe in a, I don't want to give too much of the game away, but we'll see maybe why some of the positives of this. Right now we're focusing just on the negatives. This pawn's a little too far up. It's not near its friend. It can only be defended by the rook. Gukesh decides bishop takes c4 to damage white's pawn structure, and then dx c4. And instead of dx c4, I wonder, what do you guys think of bishop takes c5? What do you guys think of that?
I think that would get you into a queen trade.
You think it would get you into a...
Yes, because Gukesh would take, Ding would take, and it would threaten, and it would try to get them to...
I don't think it's going to get you into a queen trade, necessarily.
But at least
now...
each other.
Yeah, so generally the player who captures first in these kind of capture things going in different directions has a little advantage. But this is kind of interesting. I'm showing you a little Easter egg, so to speak, of what I noticed in the game that's going to be in the book, and that is okay. So I don't think Gukesh runs away with his bishop right away, since they're both under attack anyways. I think he's going to go ahead and take. And then, you don't want to, if I'm Ding, I take with the queen, because then I've completed all three goals. Pawn in the center, castle, unified rooks. I'm down a little bit, and soon to be more. Now I'm down one pawn in material, and I don't want to trade queens because I have a lead in development. So maybe I play queen c4. And again, it's a little bit of a gambit that Ding could have played. He's down a pawn, but black's pawns seem kind of weak. This c5 pawn seems kind of weak. It's hard to defend because he has a5 played. And he's completed all three goals. Gukesh has only completed one pawn in the center. So it's a little gambit he could have played. I don't know if he considered it. He probably did, because he was spending a lot of time to think. Let's see. But he just played dx-c4. So he's got very strong hold of this d5 square, and there's still tension between the two bishops. Let's see. But yeah, it's noteworthy to discuss some of these ideas. And then black castles. Black being Gukesh. And let me find myself. And some of you might wonder, why didn't he just take here? Wouldn't that just really clobber white's pawns? Well, these are double isolated. These are doubled. And these two are a little weak. So yeah, white's pawn structure would be pretty terrible. But his control of the center is very strong. He's super controlling this square. He's got more control of this square, right? He's got equal share of this square. So 3 of the 4 center squares are you know, favoring white has more control of the center in these kind of situations. Let me see if I put this in my notes. I think I did. Because a lot of people would for sure do that. Nah, I just made that comment actually. I thought maybe I had done more. Oh, yeah, I probably should a little later. You're right. This is looking at my notes from my forthcoming book. Let's see. Let me find myself again. Yeah, DX C4. There's another possibility that black could have played. I don't want to spend too much time on the possibilities because some of them are fun, but I've already used up half my hour. But another possibility, real fast, is bishop b4. So avoiding the trade of the second pair of bishops. And then what I have for Ding there is popping the knight up, taking this queen's knight, moving it closer. Knights are close range attackers, getting it closer to the king. But you might say, well, what about e4 then? Nothing's defending e4. Well, and you might say, what about taking this pawn because you're attacking it twice? Both of these are a little valid. Taking the pawn would be a tremendous mistake. So doing something like this is actually too greedy. Besides, you would want to take the center pawn anyways, right? Not the wing pawn. It's going to be weak for a while. But why is it too greedy? Well, this knight here can come up this way in the time that you're doing that. So remember, knights are close range attackers. And this reminds me a little bit of this kind of nightmare chess that I play against some of my students on chess.com, where I just have knights and they have all their pieces. I bring my knights in closer. If you're black, you don't want that knight to come to f5, so you play g6, but then that creates some more weakness. Every time you move a pawn forward, you're creating some weakness. This is weaker now. It's only defended by the queen. So queen f3, attacking this twice. So then knight takes, and then take back toward the center. C takes.
Threatening the knight.
Threatening the knight. The knight comes up to d4, threatening the queen. So then bishop takes d4. But then, yeah, queen could take h4, right? And then no.
I could take bishop after the pawn.
But then, so this is under attack, and yeah. So bishop takes e5, dx e5, and then remember this bishop out here.
Yeah.
Rook takes a5. See, when this pawn moved up, it got the guard of the bishop away, and yeah. White has a better position here. Lo and behold, if black takes that a5 pawn. So the players are probably looking at that. And then more naturally, I think, rather than take the a5 pawn, if knight d5, we're just looking at a couple quick possibilities. If bishop b4, so what we're looking at, if bishop b4, and then knight d5, because you don't want triple isolated pawns. This knight should move, because otherwise this could happen, and then you got boom, 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 triple isolated pawns, knight d5, moving a knight closer anyways. And then instead of taking on a5, which is a wing pawn, if black were to take in the center, that should be better for black, we would think. White could play queen d3, threatening Mr. Knight, but then the knight could go to c5, returning the threat to the queen. And now, some people might be, and Jollification, you're absolutely right. He would have an open F file to attack the king. Tempted to, you know, like get rid of the threat by exchanging here.
I am also tempted.
But maybe better is Queen F5, bringing more force closer to your opponent's king, improving the position of the queen. And then Black's knight could come back in here to E6. And then why Queen F5? Well, because we want to come back here to where we're threatening this weak square.
No,
and this is why knight E6. Yeah. And then now, at this point, Black could play bishop takes A5. And again, you know, I think I would play knight H4 here, with the idea of bringing the knight in. Black's 2 pawns up, but White's piece placement gives some compensation. And Black is in a fair amount of danger, because if he castles, he's castling right into White's attack. I mean, if he does this, White immediately has stuff like that. Or this, right? I mean, it would be a tough position. Gukesh would be stressed for some time. All right, so that's a lot of what ifs. Let me get back to our actual game. And here we are with, we just saw the first exchange, dx-c4. And looks like we just went to another ad on YouTube, so I'll just catch myself up with where I am in my notes. My name is Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. We're taking a look at World Championship Game 2. Ding Liren versus Gukesh Dommaraju, played on November 26th, 2024. It is December 31st, last day of 2024. So good day to reflect upon these things. And let's see. Gukesh, after this was played, Gukesh just castles. And then bishop takes, c5. And this is going to make Black's b7 pawn even maybe harder to defend. It's not going to be able to, and c5 is going to be hard to defend after this. This early a5 that Ding Liren played is starting to bear some fruit, because you can't just advance to try and defend this thing, and you can't bypass it in any way. So this a5 is holding b7 in place, which in turn makes c5 hard to defend.
Why defending the d5 more?
Who's defending what more?
The white. Ding is defending the white more.
Yes, he is. Good observation. Let's see, where am I in my thoughts? Bishop takes c5, dx c5, and the queens are looking at each other now. By the way, they're looking straight down Broadway. But whoever takes, like for example, if you take, you're giving the other side control.
Can put another look in that file.
So let's see. Ding plays b3 here, which adds some security to c4. It's a fair enough move. And Gukesh goes ahead and trades queens. And this is interesting, because you might say, why would Gukesh trade queens if White's gonna control the d file? But I think you'll see why.
White is Ding.
Yeah, White is Ding. And the reason is after rook a to d8. Remember, this a5 pawn was weak. So if this exchange, which is the normal exchange, occurs, you lose this because your rook's not there anymore. So that's the downside of having, remember I said the rook is glued to this pawn. It means it can't reload into the d file because it is still glued over there. So Ding's going to do something a little strange here. It looks strange to me when I watched this game live in the middle of the night. Maybe because I was tired, but this move looks strange to me. Well, first of all, I was maybe a little surprised by the queen exchange from Gukesh, but then his idea is legit. He hadn't touched the queen's side rook yet. Now he's touched all his pieces, and he's threatening smack. And then either this comes back, and you lose this, or smack, this goes here, and you lose this. So it makes sense. So Ding steps out of the d file. And this looked weird to me. Why would he want to play this variation, right? He's sitting there calculating.
To defend the pawn.
Yeah, he's defending the pawn. But more importantly, he's still defending these two pawns, right? Well, yeah, I guess your point's valid too. He's defending all three pawns because if this comes here, then it's attacking that. But it's very defensive, for sure. And then, yeah, the knight does pop up. Knights are close range attackers. The knight moves up closer to the opponent's king. Nice outpost square. And White sees if he trades, it's actually going to take care of this weak c5 problem for Gukesh. So if he does this, this can take back. And so Ding plays another move that's kind of weird. Another weird looking move. He plays knight e1. So first he played rook c1, and now he plays knight e1. Okay. Well, knight e1 is a backward knight move. These always look strange, you know, moving a knight back into the first rank. But this is a $3 piece to defend c2.
Actually, isn't this the game that they get a draw in?
Yes, good memory, Leo.
So no, Gukesh does not win in this game.
He does not, but he doesn't lose, and that's the important part, because he did lose round one. So this was an important turning point for Gukesh this game. So far, you know, we have to like Black's position a little bit better at this point, because he's got a rook. Yeah, Gukesh. He's got a rook in the open file. He's got a knight on the outpost. But this is a $3 piece to defend c2 instead of making a $5 piece defend a pawn and a $5 piece defend another pawn, right? You don't want to be using your rooks to defend pawns. Okay. And then what's better than one rook in the open file? How about two? Yeah, so he goes to form that nice battery. And then Ding Liren sees, okay, that's trouble. Let's start getting our king closer so it can play role to help guard the d file, but also get closer to the center. And Gukesh also is thinking of pathways for his king to get closer to the center. And now that c2 is defended by the knight, this rook looks really silly here. It does not need to be there. It should be in the open file. And Ding Liren is now ready to fight for the open file. Rooks get stacked. f3. This gives the king access to f2, since it can't get to e2 as long as this knight's here. Also, e4 is defended, so this knight can go do useful things. It doesn't need to hang out to just defend. And king goes to g7. Gukesh is inching closer to the center, and Ding, same thing, inching closer. Kings want to be active in the endgame. And Gukesh says, you know what, I can just grab a little bit more space here. Stop any sort of G4 nonsense. He could have tried something else too. I have in my notes. I think he was happy not to lose this game because of the fact that he lost round one. He needs to have a solid effort. But I have in my notes, instead of H5, you know, he could have tried to maybe bring his knight closer. It's threatening to come in here, so then Ding would.
I'm thinking.
Ding actually has two interesting moves here. He could play G3 just to stop that, and that's maybe less exciting, but we'll take a look at it real fast. G3, and then with the knight not here anymore, that gives Gukesh a chance to play the F5 pawn break. And then maybe Ding says, okay, but I'm going to come over here. Remember these weak pawns? Because of my A5 pawn push, maybe now's the right time to cash in. This would have been an interesting variation. Certainly Gukesh looked at it. Maybe it was a little tricky. And like I said, I think he wanted to avoid going down 2 games to start the match, right? But knight H5 also, if Ding, and he might have, if Ding just plays knight D5 right away instead of G3, if he just plays knight D5 right away, then he gets his knight to the outpost. But then F5 again, the knight moved out here to free up this as well, the pawn break. C3 to tell the black's knight to go away. It does. And then EX F5, GX F5, then knight E3. There's enough defenders on this. The knight's defending it once, the rook's defending it once. Black could play rook D2, check. King F1, then F4, and this could start to get a little scary for white if he starts to push too hard. I have a lot of variations that I'm going to put in this book that's coming out. So I think the G3 was the better response to the knight H5, but there is there's some very deep things as far as knight H5, knight D5. But especially, you know, with the time considerations, I could spend probably 20 minutes just on that one variation, and we want to move forward just a little bit more. So H5. Now, if you're white, you have a rook in the D file now, but you don't like your opponent. You don't. Yeah, Ding has a rook in the D file, but he doesn't like Gukesh having his knight on this side of the board. So he plays knight E2, and this is also kind of playing a little bit for a draw. I think.
Yeah,
I think
draw.
I think if you want to play for a win here, maybe you play H4. And then it becomes tricky. How does black improve their position? The king can't move any closer to the center as long as this knight's here. You can't play the pawn break as long as this knight's here. And then it's black who maybe has to play backward moves. And then white gets to start attacking these weak pawns.
With
made possible
moves.
Yeah, with forward moves. And it's white's turn to push. It's white's. There's an ebb and flow in chess, and it would be Ding's turn to start pushing back. But he, instead of deciding to push back, and I think this was, you know, maybe a mistake on his part. Let me get to where we are. H5 was played. He just plays knight E2. h4 was the start of pushing back for white. The start of white's turn to maybe create threats and dominate a little bit more. And he passed on that. He's thinking, I guess in his mind, he won game one. So he's the guy in charge of the match. He's also okay with the draw. But in general, I think Ding played a little too conservatively during this match. He had some chances where he could have pushed back, and time and time again, he chose kind of the more drawish of the moves. Black plays knight c6.
Gukesh.
Yes, Gukesh plays knight. So now the rooks are all staring at each other. And there's two attackers on this rook now. It's a discovered attack. Threat to win a rook. So Ding adds the second defender again. And Gukesh brings his knight up to the outpost again.
So then they have to
and then
draw
Ding comes back, says okay.
3, 2, 1, draw.
And then Gukesh goes back, creates the double threat.
Now they
Gukesh sees the handwriting on the wall, and he's okay with it. He's okay with it because he knows that the h4 could have given white some more chances, and knight c3, and then knight d4. It is a saying, meaning that it's already been written on the wall. What's about to happen. The future's already decided. So it was a draw. But I think let's take a look at all of it. Let's get the main points again. Let me go back in time. All right. So number one main point is the best players in the world play openings that we see in scholastic chess tournaments. You guys who play those Saturday quads and Saturday Swisses, you see this position, and so does so played Ding Liren and Gukesh, right? Okay, so we talked about the 3 reasons why a6 is a good idea here. If you want to play this opening like Gukesh, you go ahead and play a6 because you're threatening b5, you're controlling b5, and it gives your bishop some breathing room. A4, good move by Ding, nothing too wild here. It's stopping the immediate b5. d6, castle. h6, you could wait till the bishop comes out, or you could be like Gukesh, play h6 first, then the bishop's not going there, bishop e3. And then, like I said, if bishop takes e3, it might actually be helping white out. If you do this, you probably don't want to do that as black, because it doubles their pawns, but it gives the rook f-file and more control. So Gukesh plays bishop e6, and this is fun and silly. Whoops, that's really fun and silly. But this is fun and silly. The bishops are staring each other down, both pairs. And then a5, it's the Ding specialty, the extra pawn move in the opening, especially when he's white. You have the first move advantage as white, and Ding has been experimenting with double pawn moves down the edge and kind of breaking away from theory and creating his own. And we saw how it created some weaknesses. All right, so one set of bishops goes off and take back. Black castles. Pawn in the center, castle, rooks aren't unified yet. Other bishop goes off. And now we see this a5 pawn means c5 is going to be weak. And c5 and b7. And we were looking at knight a4 as a possibility in a lot of these variations on how you can target those things. But b3 is played. Queen trade. Gukesh sees that white can't do this without losing that, so trades queens. Gukesh gets to use both his rooks, and Ding has to step out, because if rook takes, this is a very important point in the game, and rook takes, then you lose a5, and if rook takes, And rook, I'm sorry, I did that. Rook takes, knight takes. You lose e4. So he's forced to let black have momentary control of the center, but he's got an idea. You don't want to take like this, because then you're undoubling their pawns. Gukesh is stacking his rooks in the d-file. Ding's using his knight to defend the weak pawn so he can bring his rook back over. King f1, getting the king closer to the center and the d-file action. Rook comes back in. Battery, f3, allows king f2, king g7, king f2. Somebody's going to start printing maybe. h5. Sorry about that noise. Somebody is forgetting that I'm in the office doing stuff. Knight e2. And right here, this is where, again, Ding could have played h4. And then black needs to do something. Can't really... It's almost one of those Zugzwang. It's almost a Zugzwang in a sense, where as black you would have to maybe back away, and then white's turn to attack. But instead of doing that, he goes for the draw. Double threat on the rook on d1 now, so need to bring a second defender. Back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Draw. I hope you guys enjoyed this live lesson look at Ding Gukesh Game 2. The game where Gukesh gets comfortable as a chess player at the World Championship. Game 1, he was a little uncomfortable and lost. Game 2, he proves to himself that he belongs to be there. I will choose another game for our afternoon lesson. You guys have a bunch of things about to happen, including another chess tournament in the camp. Go have fun with that, and I will see you guys again this afternoon. Bye.
Bye.
Once again, I'm Chris Torres. This is Daily Chess Musings. Check out dailychessmusings.com. Find Daily Chess Musings on YouTube. Find our Daily Chess Musings Club on chess.com. So long, everybody.